Hello, everyone. Welcome to Question Everything, a podcast all about learning from the successes and the failures of those who dare to, well, question everything. This podcast is part interview, part therapy, and part Price is Right. We even have our own game board stacked with questions that'll make the most successful CMOs totally sweat. I'm your host, Ashley Walters, CMO and partner at Curiosity. On today's episode, I sit down with ad industry legend PJ Pereira, co-founder of Silverside AI, and his namesake, Pereira Odell. Besides being the brain behind iconic campaigns for Coca-Cola, IHOP, and Adobe, PJ is passionate about mentoring creatives to embrace the rise of AI. On today's episode, you'll learn what really happened with that AI-generated Coke ad we all talked about, why the future of big ideas are actually just seeds, and why when it comes to AI, everyone is behind. So embrace the wave and don't get caught with your shorts down. Fire up your AI note taker and get ready to spend an hour with one of advertising's top minds. Let's get started. PJ Pereira is an industry veteran of over 20 years, best known for co-founding independent award-winning creative agency Pereira Odell. He's also been named to Adweek's Creative 100, Ad Age's Creative 50, and he was named Adweek's AI Champion of the Year for championing the ethical progression of AI in the ad industry. His passion for converging AI and creativity led him to co-found Silverside, an AI innovation and incubation lab solving creative problems for the world's top brands. Whether you consider yourself an AI expert or if you haven't yet embraced it, this episode is your chance to learn from the best in the industry. PJ, welcome to the podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah, I am so excited. So I read a little news this week and I saw that you were just listed and named to Ad Age's A-list. I have to say congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's such an honor, and I know that's a list that comes out every year and features everyone that is doing important work and making important moves. And we're very honored to be not only on the list, but next to the people who are on the list as well.
So speaking of the people next to you on the list, I woke up this morning and saw Megan Lawley post a beautiful bouquet of flowers and a handwritten note that looked like it was from you. Is this true?
Yeah. Our industry, there's so much competitiveness and the day by day so grinding. So working on something that is such a personal expression of who we are, especially on the creative side. It can be very grinding, and we sometimes lose sense that we have more to gain when we work and when we move as a herd, as a pack, as a group in an industry. And I think that when you learn to appreciate the other ones around you, everything gets much better. So when we saw the list, and my feeling wasn't just pride for what we have been doing ourselves as service plan, as a network, because it's Pearl Dell, there's Silverside, but there's also service plan, 7,000 people around the world. They're super excited, celebrating. But then we look and all those other companies should be having the same celebrations, and we're happy for all of them. And it's like, you know what, let's send some flowers just so we can please share these moments. It's good to have things we can share.
I love that. Well, class act first, but I also agree with you. I think this industry can sometimes feel so big, but yet sometimes really small. And I think when we are working together and we're even collaborating together and sharing ideas, man, it can feel really, really inclusive and amazing. And I love that you did that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So having you on, man, I got to say, it's like a little bit of a pinch me moment. I've heard of your agency. I have obviously followed you, seen a lot of the incredible work you guys have done. You've written how many, like 6 books, I think. You've won every award ever possibly imagined. So putting these questions together was a real treat. I can't wait to dig in and learn a little bit of behind the scenes into some of these magical moments you've had. So are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. So as you know, you've seen the show. We've got 12 spicy questions and the power is totally in your hands. Where do you want to go first?
Let's go to number 2 now.
Number 2. So, I want to talk about AI. So, how can a CMO, in your opinion, integrate AI into their operations, like starting tomorrow? What are some of those first things brands can start doing?
AI is such a big transformation in the way we think and do things that if we try to find no to begin with, no one knows what the AI budget should be, so
Yeah.
they don't have any money. So they when they start to think about it, they have to they everyone is struggling. And I'm telling you, because every client, every CMO I talk to, they reveal the same thing in the corner. After we have a conversation, eventually come, let me tell you this. I have a lot of pressure to do things, but I don't have a budget because I don't even know how much I should spend, and I don't know what I should be doing. Now I have the pressure, but I have no money, I have no goals, I have how do I start? And what I'm telling you, telling every one of them is that pick something, whatever it is, and do a little pilot. Start. This first project is probably not going to be the important one in terms of impact, but it will give you a glimpse of what the future can be and what the possibilities are, and it will give you a hint of what the next big one is. And then you grow from there. The worst thing you can do now is try to is get paralyzed by the possibilities and the weight and the responsibility and wait for the chance to do it perfectly because you're not going to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to do something small and fast so you can learn from it and do better than the next round.
What are some typical first types of projects that you're seeing brands take on? Or is it just all over the board?
It's all over the board. I think that I have clients that we're helping them think about their design process and like it's the quickest easiest win for them is as a way to experiment is let's reframe your design process so as you're designing your product you can see it in different parts of the world in real time and can accelerate your rollout. Okay, that's it. For some others, is just finding ways to give scale to their social media or their e-commerce content. For others, is creating ads that look better than what their budgets can afford to be. And so every situation, every culture, and every brand is slightly different. So that's why I'm saying that you should not look at others, your peers, as a reference to what you should be doing. You should look inside at what is the quickest opportunity that I have to get something out in the world and learn from it because it's so different that it's hard to predict. I'll give you one little example of the difference. I have a client that kind of explained that came to me with a brief said, "Oh, this is what I want to do. Can I because I don't know how much money I should do. I know that it's related to video, but I want to start with these the low profile portion of the videos that we do. We have these super expensive videos that we do, but also have these low production videos. And can you do the low production videos for us?" And it's like, yeah, we can, but check this out. AI is actually better doing to do the expensive things than the inexpensive things. If you to do the inexpensive things, you're going to be almost the same cost. To do the expensive ones, AI can do it in a much faster and cheaper way. So we can try to do those or do the inexpensive, but making them look expensive. So having these conversations, keeping an open mind helps a lot. But just the fact that they started the conversation allowed them to understand that some of if they had just try to find the perfect plan, they wouldn't even have realized that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great example. I think I don't know, from my perspective, I think we're probably a little far behind on the AI journey, but I'm like watching the industry evolve and like kind of rid some of that fear, and it's been really beautiful on how AI can be a tool for creatives and strategists and really the entire creative supply chain. And so, yeah, I'm excited to learn from you and to learn from others who are doing it really well.
I mean, everyone is behind. There's no
Thank
one,
you. Oh, that was a
everyone
therapy
is
session for
behind.
me.
And sometimes I have a sense that unless we collectively make a deal, so let's move together again, kind of this constant theme. If unless we make a deal, so like let's chase this together,
Yeah.
the technology is going to evolve faster than the industry. And that's a problem because then we may be replaced by other industries.
So true. All right, let's go back to the board.
Let's say 7.
Lucky number 7. All right. So in-house creative agencies. I want your hot take on this. Do you love them or do you hate them?
I would say that I used to hate them. Now I'm actually okay with that. And first, and part of that is because I have so many really brilliant friends that moved there and felt like, you know what? They're doing great work. They're making progress. They're pushing the industry. So I learned to love them. And I think that there's the we're we're as an industry again finding ways to settle and understand how we can all work together. Some of my favorite clients and are actually working directly with their internal agency, not the regular path that we had before. So you know what? I think we're gonna be all right.
We're going to be
And
all
we
right.
can do good stuff together.
Now, do you partner with in-house creative agencies?
Yeah, there's some clients that we work on project on specific things, and the in-house agency works with some other ones. There's a new client that we're gonna start to work soon, that we work under their in-house agency. So
Hmm.
I think the configuration are gonna keep changing because the nature of the business and the nature of the process and the nature of marketing is changing so much that we can't I don't think we can't afford to get stuck on any opinion on anything.
Yeah. Yeah. We also work with a lot of in-house creative agencies. I'm curious, and like any red flags for you when you're talking to a brand and they're like, I see it a lot in RFPs now, like we have our own in-house team. We want somebody who can partner with them and be collaborative. Have you had any issues or seen any red flags in those relationships?
I've been fired in the past by the creative agency, and I think that that's a big lesson that if you try start to compete with them,
Yeah.
you lose. They're there every day. They are the client. They're part of the system. That if you try to compete with that, that's like it's just there's no way you can win. So eventually you learn to, let's come to peace and I think that now have a legitimately good relationship with the in-house agencies of our clients because it's like they have ultimately they have the same challenges that we do. They want to do the same things that we do. So like let's make things work here, do brilliant work that is moving the business here. So okay, let's do it.
Got it. All right. Good advice. All right. Let's go back to the game board.
Let's go 8, my birthday.
Your birthday. Okay. Number 8. All right. So, wanting a lion and winning a lion are two different things. What advice can you give CMOs early on in the creative process if they want to win?
The first advice is wanting to win and trying to win. Which sounds like, yeah, that's silly. You didn't answer that. But trying to win is actually the trick.
Mm.
Between wanting and winning, there's trying. And it's the trying that makes you better.
Mm-hmm.
Because trying, you have to try every year. Wanting, you want in the beginning when it feels like it's over, but trying is a constant. Trying is a path. I have won many lions in my life and I haven't won many lions multiple times. That every year I'm back to trying,
Mm.
and it's a reset year, is a 0 year like everyone else. And the act of trying to be good enough to win on a few things makes you good at everything else.
Mm.
The discipline of really wanting to win makes everything around you and the work much, much better because it kind of forces you to have to compare against best in class in the ideas level, in the craft level, in the process level, in the thinking level. So it elevates your entire game. So trying is the really trying, really going after it. So you're gonna try, and you're gonna fail, and you're going to just pat the dust off and try again next year, and you're gonna win, and then you pat the dust off and you try again. The trying is the secret.
That's good. I love the repetition of that. Like, it might not be year 1, but maybe it's going to come year 2. Is there anything like, cuz I know you've been a Lion jury member too. Any advice for somebody who hasn't won one, and like we have a client right now and in the briefing at the top of the brief, is like, all right, can lion. Like that's the level of creativity we're thinking for this. So So if that's step one, like what are some things that we could do as their agency partner to help navigate the CMO and the brand team through some of those decisions?
I think it's the way to frame it and the way you look at it that is the what's going to help more than any action that you do on the particular idea, because it's hard to, this is a competition, right? When you
Yep.
go there, when you're in the room judging, there's no trend that wins. There's no particular thing that will win. Is you're gonna, if you have, if you're in an incredible year where everyone did incredible job, the work that's gonna win is the work that did incredible job plus one. If everyone did, it's a horrible year that everyone did a horrible job, the work that is going to win, it will be horrible plus one will win. It's literally a competition. Let's see what stands out. It's not an absolute criteria. So I think that the point, if you are a client or an agency that is trying to win, is trying to play at that highest level, the trick is giving yourself that commitment for, I'm going to do it, and I'm gonna, is a long-term one. I'm gonna try this one and I'm gonna enter. And if it doesn't win, I'm gonna look at the other things that won in that same space and try to understand why a jury of incredibly smart people thought that that thing was better than mine. All those things were better than mine. And then you learn from it. And then next year, you may not win again, but maybe put a short list. And then the next year, you go and win. And then the next year, you're going to go expecting to win even bigger. And then you go, don't even put a short list. And but understanding and learning from it is the most important thing. I still remember the day that when I opened my first agency in Brazil. We were 7 months old when we entered Cannes for the first time. Not even a year old, and we went there and won a Grand Prix. It was like five golds, five silver, three silvers, and a bunch of bronzes and a Grand Prix. And we won, like, we as an agency we won more awards than Germany. And who was the third? It was the US, UK, and Germany, and we won more awards than Germany.
Wow.
Oh, no, actually, US, UK, Brazil, and Germany. So and Brazil was us. So,
Wow.
and I remember, kind of, that's awesome. We did it. We are incredible. The next year, I decided, like, I'm not going to Cannes this year. Last year was too big. I'm gonna do something else. So I went to Paris, which I didn't say anything, but it's like it's close enough. So when we win, I'll take a train and I'll go there to go on stage. You know what we won that year? Zero.
Mm.
And that was the biggest lesson in my life. Whatever happened in one year has no influence whatsoever on the next one, other than your culture and your drive and your craft. If you have a culture that is competitive and is looking at things right, and if you have your process, that passion for craft, and your clients if you have that collective ambition, you are on track. But that's no guarantee that you'll win,
Mhm.
because it's a new season. Everything goes back to zero. You're like right next to everyone else.
Oh, that is such good perspective. I really like that. And it does kind of create a bit of a rat race for the next year, doesn't it? You're like, oh man, you,
It is incredible when you're winning, but
yeah.
when you win and then you lose is a horrible perspective.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a client. They hit they hit the $1 billion mark, and I remember we went out for a beer and celebrated. And their boss was like, "All right, so when are we going to hit the next billion?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, okay." We had like 30 minutes to celebrate, but here we go. It kind of feels like the same thing, right? Grand Prix one year.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like sports,
Yeah,
right?
it
You
is.
you win the Super Bowl next year, you have 0 points, just like everyone else.
Yes, that's great. All right, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. Let's go back to the board.
I think that sometimes being predictable is very unpredictable in this world. I will go for 9.
Number 9. Well, that's my favorite number. So let's see. Okay, so I've read this about you. So at Pure Odell, you've said that we want to be the most creative agency on the planet. So I'm curious, as a founder, how do you know when you've arrived?
Okay, this is the most painful lesson in my career, that is when you feel that you know that you arrived, then you're behind.
Oh God. Okay.
So that story that I told you about going to Paris instead of going to Cannes because, I don't want to be there again, but I want to be close enough. That was that day that like, oh, we arrived and then we didn't. And so one of my biggest panics, my biggest fears is having the feeling that we arrived
Mm-hmm.
because making having a good year, having a good moment means nothing on the next brief that you take, other than being kind of a little bit of a reputation of like, oh, you did some creative work, so I want you to do something again, something like that again. It gives you a little bit of a head start, but not much. So I would rather feel that if the world thinks that you arrived, I would rather feel that they they, they are wrong. It's like I don't like to think that I arrived. I think like I'm still in motion.
All right, that's a good framework. I mean, as me as an owner, I'm constantly asking, okay, so like when do we know we've hit this, or like what is it? And it does just kind of feel like you get to the top of one mountain and then you look over and you're like, "Oh wait, there's so much more and so many more people to impact and so many more things to do." And I guess that's what makes this fun, right?
It's terrifying, it's exhausting, but it also allows you to celebrate it a little bit more. If all right, there was a good day, and doesn't mean that now it's going to be everything up or down. It's okay now. Just in the beginning, we still had to prove ourselves and accomplish. You don't take anything for granted anymore.
Yeah, so true. All right, let's go back to the board.
Let's go with 12.
Number 12. All right, so let's just pretend like we have a crystal ball here. What would you say? Where is our industry headed in the next 5 years?
I'll tell you what I'm chasing, and I hope that in 5 years that's going to be when we're finally have realized found the answer to a question. I think that if you look back, our industry had multiple leaps in terms of understanding what we had in our hands. But because once you have a completely new thing to play with, you don't understand what you have until there's enough
Mhm.
experience playing with it by multiple places, multiple ages, and multiple brands. I'll give you, so there was a certain point in the 60s and towards the 70s. The industry realized that, moving from print to TV was a different thing. We had to not only put a photo and made it move and write long copy. There's a different way of telling a story for moving ads, and the way of writing a script for TV was very different. Later, years later, decades later, when I started in the business, the biggest question that we had was, okay, we have these the internet was born, the web was born, and we had to figure what is uh what is what is interactive advertising. And I have incredible stories from that time and on how we collectively try to answer that question. Later, we found we had to discover and figure what is social advertising. What is advertising when when the buzz is part of what the idea is, not only the result of the idea. That's a fundamental change that we had to figure, right? I think that now the question that I have in the back of my head that I don't expect to answer that in the next year, maybe three, maybe five, I think is what is an intelligent idea?
Hmm.
What is an idea that is going to have its own ideas?
Hmm.
And like in video games, that is happening right now. Video game creators are, for the first time, they're faced with the challenge of creating non-playing characters. They don't write script for them anymore. They have to give them a backstory and hope that the characters are going to behave the way that they want. They're not going to change the direction of the story altogether.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is somewhere where we're going to land. Is like our ideas are going to have their own ideas, and we have to be creating a, a DNA of an idea. I think another way of putting this is that how we are obsessed with big ideas, right? The term big ideas, how I've been raised in this business. I think we need to stop thinking about big ideas and we need to stop thinking about small ideas. Seeds, not trees.
Hmm.
How can we create an idea that is a seed of an idea, that is a small thing that we are going to put out in the world and is going to blossom in a completely unpredictable shape? But we kind of know the direction, but we cannot determine every branch and the height of the tree and the cut. We don't know exactly how it's going to happen because the world is going to influence it. But we know that is a tree.
Mm-hmm.
But a seed is much easier to carry around and easier to bring to places than carry a giant tree behind you.
That is really good. I think in our next statements of work, we should have like seed idea planning, not big idea planning.
I've had people look at me as like, what kind of witchcraft are you talking about here? And I was like, well, you mean you don't want a big idea anymore? No, I want a small idea. And then people look at me, it's like, are you dumb? Are you crazy? Or you're just trying to make a silly point? I actually mean it. I think that there's a different way of thinking about ideas that we haven't figured yet.
Yeah.
And we will.
Yeah, and that parent-child relationship to an idea is really fascinating too. And I think there are likely some campaigns out in culture that are kind of at the beginning of what you're talking about now. All right, so we'll set a calendar. We're gonna check in with you in about 3 years, and I want to know if you have an answer to this question or if we've started to answer it.
And yeah, I can guarantee that it's not going to be my answer. This needs to be a
No, yeah,
collective answer.
yeah, yeah.
I'll tell us a story behind this. Is when I was president of the jury at Cannes at Cyber Lions ages ago, there was a discussion in the beginning. It's like that in the Cyber Lions about interactive ideas. So if the idea is not interactive, it shouldn't belong here. So that's what we established, that it needs to be interactive some way. So we judge everything, and then in the end, there were two ideas running for the Grand Prix. One was a very interactive idea, you write stuff, and there was a video that reacted to it. And the other one was an idea that was just a series of videos. And the jury was pretty unanimous. You have to have 2/3 of the jury to win it, to give it a Grand Prix. The jury was unanimous in terms of saying that the idea that was just a series of videos was our favorite, but that wasn't an interactive idea. It classically. So the jury was split in the middle, and we spent 3 hours trying to convince each other of which one should win. In the end, we ended up giving the one to what we called interactive, and made a statement. By doing that, we made a statement that just because you press play on a video, that's not interactive enough. That's not the future.
Mm-hmm.
6 months later, YouTube was born. And we missed the opportunity because we were so stuck on our definition of what the future would be from a point of view what the past was.
Yeah.
That we missed the opportunity of seeing the biggest transformation in media, in that influenced everything from that point on.
Yep.
So I think that this definition is going to, if it happens, if we know on that, if that crystal ball is right or wrong and what is in there, we're not going to have to you're not going to have to ask me. It's we
We'll
all
see
know.
it. We'll feel it. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I feel like I was just a fly on the wall in that jury discussion. So that was really cool. Thanks for that. All right, let's go back to the game board.
Let's go with 5.
All right, number 5. So I want to talk Coca-Cola. Your Coca-Cola AI generated holiday ad, it made mainstream news, which I'm sure you could tell us all about.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about is if you were writing the headline the next day, what would it have said? What did you really want people to know about that?
I would have loved if the conversation there had been about how advertising just started to figure its AI muscles. I think that would have been the positive headline for everyone. And I think there was enough conversation. It's kind of like in public, there was a lot of AI hatred because people are afraid of losing their jobs, and I understand and appreciate it. And in private, I had some of the people that were complaining, they were writing to me, oh my God, it's so big what you have done, and I hope that it works well because it's, it can be a way for all of us to still have a job in the future. So can you tell us what we do? So the conversations in private were way better than the conversations in public. And I think that if we had done that more publicly, had the positive side of it, it's like, okay, this is an important day because it marks the start of something. Now let's make sure that that something is going to be positive for everyone. I think we would have wasted less time.
Yeah, I wonder, like, had that ad come out just a little bit later, if that headline would have been different, if the conversation around it would have been
I
different.
think the first one to get the head out would be
Yeah.
would get the shots no matter what.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was Coca-Cola and holidays, there's so much pressure that is that makes it it was more, it was bigger than anyone was expecting, and but someone had to do it, and you know, I don't regret anything there. And the what people don't know of the back story that I think is kind of very ironic is that what that I heard people say, oh, that wasn't, you didn't, where's the idea there? What is, you know, what is the crack? It's like, let me make these very clear here. The idea here was the caravan. The idea is, let's take these trucks that people are used to seeing, let's make them shiny and beautiful, and let's put them on the street. It's an idea that someone had ages ago, and create, it became a part of how I see the holidays. And if you know what, that is the idea. There's nothing artificial or virtual about it. It's the most physical, real idea in this business. It has been there forever. We just did a spot that celebrates the caravan. And so let's tell people that the caravan is coming to their town. It was honestly very unpretentious. I thought, you know what? Let's do this. You save money here to put them having more trucks or more cities. I'm happy. As a lover, as a fan, and an advertising nerd, I think that making more people see more of those caravans is more important than any story that we could have put on TV, on film, or online, or cinemas, or anywhere. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted more people to see the caravans for real, and I think we made our part.
Mm-hmm. And how did the client take all of it?
It was it was one of the best performing holiday campaigns of all time for Coca-Cola.
Wow.
You know, if you ask the CEO was giving, the Coca-Cola CEO was giving interviews in Davos about, you know, who's asked about that. So like, it was performing incredibly well. We were super proud of it. Of course, there's controversy because there's every time we try something new, there are people, some people are going to make comments, they're negative, and we're ready for that.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're prepared. We knew that was going to happen, especially knowing that there's so much anxiety towards AI
Mm-hmm.
because people are afraid of losing their jobs. And I appreciate it. Again, it is, I really care about that, and I think that keeps me awake at night is our ability as an industry to move fast enough and teach people fast enough to reuse their skills and readjust their skills to this new scenario, instead of just trying to resist and fight this wave that is it's not, you can't hold that wave. I was raised in Rio de Janeiro, right?
Uh-huh.
By the beach. I lived 3 blocks from the beach. When you're a 5-year old living at the beach, you learn that if the wave comes, you have two choices. You either jump in and end up on the other side, or you run away and run back to the sand, and and go back to safety. The worst thing you can do is stay there in the middle, trying to hold the wave. The wave is not gonna be, it's not holdable. It's gonna just go right straight through you, and you're gonna be fumbling and tumbling, and luckily, if you're lucky, if you still have your shorts when the whole thing is over, right? I think that it's fair for people to say, you know, I see these waves, I'm going to lean in, and I'm going to jump in, I'm going to be on the other side, or I'm going to surf it,
Yeah.
or I'm going to go back to the sand and be safe from it, and I'm going to retire, and I don't want to have to do with anything to do with that. But if you want to stay in the water, you need to either go past the wave or surf it. You cannot stay there just looking at it, it's kind of looming over you, and hope that it's not going to crash. It will crash, and you're going to get hurt, and you're going to lose your shorts.
That's right.
So and that concerns me. I've been spending a big chunk of my time trying to educate and recruit people to want to learn how to reskill themselves and readjust their thinking so they can play a role in this new world
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of the waves, instead of just being paralyzed by fear and angry and trying to say we don't want waves anymore. You cannot say waves stop there. Doesn't That's not how waves work.
Yeah. I mean, headline here is don't lose your shorts. So I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. And kudos to you for like the education and the coaching and the mentoring you're doing with creatives right now. I think that's incredible. I think there's a lot of power in knowledge, and some of the fear just stems from the unknown. And I think the more that we know, the more that we get our hands on it and experience it, like you said, the better we will all be. So very
Listen,
cool.
I was raised, I started my career right when digital was coming, and I remember some people saying, "Oh, this is not creative, this is not good, this is not,"
Yeah.
it's kind of, there were all sorts of the same exact same conversation. And I remember someone in kind of an older, much older creative in my agency saying, "Listen, I remember when Max arrived in the creative department, and they said the same thing. So don't listen to that." And that advice from that person who was there in the beginning, not the person who had been there for just a little bit, saved my career. And I'm trying to do that for others, kind of move that to the next generations. Don't listen to the naysayers, because we have no control over that. That is coming. All we need to do, all we can do, is understand what's on the other side, and be prepared and prepare ourselves for that. And if I can help a few people like that, one person help me, I can be ready to retire in the next 20 years from now.
20 more years. I love it. All right, let's go back to the game board.
Okay, let's go with one then.
Number one. Well, you just kind of touched on this one a little bit. So you mentioned AI anxiety. So we know it's real. I know we feel it here in Cincinnati. So I want to talk about it. Why are these fears justified, and why are some of them not justified?
I'll say that they're absolutely justified, right? Things will change enough for me to say that no job is safe and there's nothing we can do about it, right? And I think that there's serious concerns. In my head, the way I look at this is that I allow myself to be for and against it at the same time. So I have separated, like I can see it as a citizen, as an advertising professional, as an entrepreneur, and as a creative. I look at those things, and some of them I decide to, like, as a creative, I'm surfing that wave.
Mm-hmm.
As an agency owner, I'm surfing that wave even more. As an advertising professional, I'm concerned. I'm going for the wave, but I'm concerned with the ones that are not going. As a citizen, I wish we could just go for the sand, because I think there's serious societal problems they're going to need to solve, and I don't know if society is ready for what's coming. But all I can do right now, and all I can help, is by helping people understand what is their back path forward, because again, the wave is coming one way or another. And I think that the way to do it is not allow yourself to get paralyzed, getting there, try so you can see how it is. Because what I'm seeing, the reality is that it's not that people are just losing their jobs and losing perspective, period. I think that every single person that tried to experimented with it saw a different possibility for what their future will be. So I've seen people who are colorists. They're just do color adjustments on spots in the regular process. Now they're directing entire spots using they're using their culture. Now they feel like, I don't know enough about camera, but I know about filmmaking, and I know about color, that I can direct entire spots, and they're doing beautiful things all by themselves with their computers. I've seen illustrators, they're animating. I've seen writers, they're composing music without any music knowledge. Is a writer writing music using AI as good as a musician writing music? No. But in most cases, when you don't have a chance to hire a writer and a musician, that is going to be infinitely better than just having the writer.
Yeah.
to compose a song with a guitar that he doesn't play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the thing. What I see as the way to depict this moment for me is kind of like this. The advertising gods and the technology gods got together. It's like, yeah, people keep complaining about us and we need to make a deal here. Here's what we see. And we have technology people saying the technology guys like they complain that everything is too complicated and needs too much training. Can we make some of the people just tell what we want to do it? Oh yeah, okay, let's do it. The advertising gods, on the other hand, feel like, okay, we went from the a world that where agencies could do three, four things per year and my budget was enough to do it, and now we have to do 400 things per year and I have the same budget if not less. Now my agency is angry at me because I'm not spending enough money. The production company is complaining that I don't have money for all the crap that I demand, but the world expects me to deliver that quality. The world is consuming content in hundreds of times more moments, and I have to deliver. What do I do? It's not that the CFO is mean or the CMO is weak. It's just that the context changed. And the advertising gods feel like, yeah, they keep complaining about that. I'm gonna say so one day they feel like, you know what? How about this? Let's give them a technology that allows them to finally, instead of having 100 people or 200 people doing 4 spots per year, we can have 400 spots or 400 videos being done by groups of 2 people. We still have work for the 200, but they're split in blocks of 2 instead of blocks of 200. And they're going to do more things instead of less. And technology is going to allow you to do something that is not it's not going to be the difference between the 202 like you expect. It's not going to be like the 200 people. So eventually, sometimes you can do the big production, but most times you're going to need to do the small ones.
Yeah.
But now we have flexibility. And then those gods give us that gift and we complain.
Sounds like my 4-year-old, my 6-year-old, my 9-year-old. I'm like, it's the answer to what you've been asking for. How is this a bad thing?
They have been begging for this. I've been complaining. Every person in advertising and marketing that I've known for the last 10 years have been complaining about not having money to do,
Yes.
not having enough money to do all the new things that they have to do. Now technology allows you to do, you're complaining.
Oh man, it's so true. It's so true. Well, I do. I mean, I think it does go back to just like that comfort level and some education and some experience. And sometimes we're just deeply afraid of the unknown, and it's like, it's actually not as scary as it looks. That wave, that 5-year-old can crush through that wave.
Exactly. When I was 5, I was surfing that wave just like the grown-ups. And it's fine. I think we can all do it. The scary part is that if you're an 18, if you're an intern and you're a CMO, the gap between those two had never been so small.
Yeah.
Right. And that could be exciting. If you are if you're in the top level and you allow yourself to get excited by learning new things, that's exciting. If you're just worried about your ego and how much you know more than the others, that's a scary part.
Yeah.
If you're at the beginning and all you care about is if someone can feed you the information, you're in trouble because no one knows anything to teach you. You're going to need to figure out by yourself. But if you're an ambitious person that wants to have a chance, a shot at doing things that have been done, there has never been a better opportunity. Your generation is the lucky one. So I think that I like to see this with excitement, and I'm trying to get these excitement on as many people as I can because that is good. These are my friends we're talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I want them to see it so they can have a positive motion forward instead of hiding under a rock and getting swept by the wave.
Yes. All right, let's go back to the game board. I think we have time for one more.
One more.
Yes.
Okay.
Where are we going?
Let's go 10.
Number 10. Okay, so that you mentioned that your first 6 months in America were the worst 6 months of your life. So I'd love to talk about that a little bit. Like, how did those struggles prepare you for, the man you are today and all the success that kind of came your way? Hard earned, I might add, but talk a little bit about that.
This is an incredible question. I practice martial arts, and
I
in
know you
martial arts,
do.
the one thing it gave me was resilience.
Mm,
And I think that saved my life on those first 6 months. And the ability to live in discomfort and take that as a lesson on being uncomfortable and dealing with that is kind of how I had to do every day. I had to remind myself, like, okay, I got punched in the face by choice, so I need to, this is not that hard. I can go back there, then get punched again and survive. And for me, what happened, imagine, so I I moved to the US thinking that I could speak English, and I arrived here and I couldn't. It wasn't not even close to I wasn't even close to ready. To make things even worse, I am half deaf.
mm,
I read lips to have conversations, right? So, and reading lips in another language is impossible. So I arrived home every day with a headache,
mm,
right? I avoided having American friends for at least a year because in my personal time, I needed to speak Portuguese because I couldn't stand speaking English anymore. But the flip side of that is that when I had to sell an idea, it was impossible. I didn't have the flow. I didn't have the jokes. I didn't have the rhythm. Couldn't read the people on the other side. So my boss at AKQA was kind enough to recommend, hey, how about this? Do you want me to hire a presentation coach? And my first reaction was, no, I've been doing this forever. I know how to present. But then I thought, you know what? I need help here. And my first class with her, she said, okay, bring me your next presentation. I had like 1 hour long presentation. This is the next presentation. And said, she looked at me and said, okay, turn the camera on and say you have 5 minutes. So what? 5 minutes. And I forced myself to do it in five, couldn't do it in five, did in 10. But by doing that in 10, it forced me to learn exactly what I had to say to sell that idea. And then she said, okay, yeah, this is not about the 5 minutes. It's about exactly figuring what is the core thing that you need to do, what you really need to say, and what are the tangents that you may take or you may not take, but you know that if you take them, you have to come back. That discipline of being of presenting in another language and for what how it forced me to delineate that clarity that the what that idea is, it was the most important skill I learned in my career. And it happened during those 6 months. If it wasn't for that difficulty, I would have never had to learn it that way. And the fact that I did kind of helped me get much better at taking things that what my team creates, and sometimes they come up with a brilliant idea, but eventually you need to find a simple way to explain to someone that wasn't there along the way, and like, oh, that really is brilliant, and I think that I can help them um, get some their best ideas sold because of those 6 months of hell.
wow. Well, thank you for sharing that story. That's incredible. I see a lot of parallels to like the resilience that you faced then and the resilience that it takes now as a champion of AI. You can see, the there's a bit of backlash and there's a little controversy and there's fear and there's anxiety, and I think, at least from an outside perspective, the way that you're handling it and representing agencies and representing the creative community in that, it's really remarkable. And it actually gives me a lot of hope, and it's inspiring to think that AI can have a massively positive impact on all of us in this industry. So kudos to you.
Speaking from the heart here, all my experience playing with this new world of AI and what it represents and what how it changes the business and how we do things, I can tell you with all my heart that I feel more creative than I felt before. I
Wow.
think that the impact, once people let go of their fear and try it for real, they're going to realize that this is going to be it could be a creative renaissance because
Mm,
we got used to a very industrial creative process. And like the way we separate the creative process in multiple steps is almost Henry Ford like.
Yes.
It's industrial. Okay, you first write, then someone else does this other part, then the specialist taking part and move to the other one. And all creatives I know at some point, all marketers I know at some point complain that why do I need to turn off my creativity at this point just because they have to finish this? I just had an idea. Can we change? Oh, no, no, no. Now we have to finish this. Now we have to wrap it. Can only have ideas that on these parts of the process. With the way things are being transformed, if the cycles are shorter and you keep doing multiple cycles of the whole thing, and it feels incredibly more creative and incredibly more rewarding for people with a creative mind. Not only the creatives as the creative department, the writers and art director, but anyone that joined the marketing world has a creative spirit.
Yes.
And I can tell you, we're all going to feel more creative when this becomes the norm. But you have to trust me on this, because unless you really try to do it, not to prove that I'm wrong, but to see how it is, if you try it, you're going to see that I'm right. Every person that have done that told me the exact same thing. And every person who is just trying to try to prove that this is evil, that it's not going to work, goes there, tries, and fails the first time. It's like, it doesn't work. See, the craft is not there. See, the quality is not there. See, and they find an excuse to put that aside, and they are missing the opportunity.
Yeah. In PJ, we trust.
Trust the method. Trust the beauty of our collective resilience. I think that is the trust. Our collective resilience and our collective creativity and our collectively resourcefulness will find a way to make creativity still reign.
Mic drop. I love it. All right. So this has been incredible. If you know how this podcast usually ends, we love to do a little this or that just to get to know you a little bit better. We've done some digging on you, and I think we have a couple of really good ones. Are you ready? Just the first thing that comes to mind here.
Ready.
All right, let's go. Winning a big pitch or winning an MMA match?
MMA match.
Ooh, I love that. Launching a campaign or launching a novel?
A novel.
Okay. Daytime Emmy or Cannes Lion?
Daytime Emmy.
All right. Mid-Journey or $1 million production?
Mid-Journey.
Let's go. PJ, this was incredible. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so grateful to have had the time with you today.
No, it was my pleasure. And I think that thank you for opening the mic for this conversation. As I said, this is important. This is not just a conversation about one person in one portfolio. I think this is a moment in our industry, a moment in history that we have. Every single person is now deciding if they're going to stay behind or if they're going to adjust to what the future is. So thank you very much for giving me a little bit more space to get a few more people to feel like, okay, I'm going to take that as a good opportunity, not as just a massive threat.
Yes.
So if you're listening and you're that person, thank them for that.
If our listeners want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to find you?
I think LinkedIn tends to be the easiest process. My professional self, I have like my LinkedIn. I'm the ad guy on TikTok and Instagram. I'm a writer. So like on TikTok, I'm more of the writer. On Instagram, I'm more of the fighter. So I separate those things. And WhatsApp, I'm family. So if you want to talk to me as an ad guy, go to LinkedIn. If you want to talk to me as a writer, talk on Instagram. As a fighter on Instagram.
Perfect. We'll link to all of those for you so they have easy access to it. All right, my friend, have an awesome day. Congrats on A-List. Let's stay in touch. I'd love to continue to follow your success.
Let's do it.
All right. Thank you.